I used to think that saints are preordained by God. How can one person or some persons have so many qualities? But in this reading again, we are being reminded that saints are made, saints are not born. So it tells us that you and I are saints. They live the same life of burden, they make mistakes, they fall, or they rise. They are consistent and they are tenacious. Especially, they always plead and look out for God's mercy. Maxilian Kolbe is a light in darkness. He was called the Saint of Auschwitz. He was generous. This is like a summary. He was bold, selfless, and was always willing to give love. He was filled with love and grace and gave this love willingly. He was born in 1894 on the January 4th, coincidentally my month. He was originally called Raymond and one of 3 sons in a family stated to be devout Catholic. His parents were Maria and Julius Kolbe, and they lived life of poverty, intentional poverty, and they held that poverty as their badge of honor. They were devotees of the Blessed Virgin Mary. So it tells us that in our homes, if you want to specifically make sense, it comes from where we are coming from our parents, from our upbringing, where we are now and where we are coming from. But this Maxilian or Raymond Kolbe, who that was his original name, was a very troublesome child. The last of the 3 sons, very troublesome, very mischievous, very naughty and bad-tempered. One day at the age of 9, the mother was tired of looking after him and said, "Oh, this is my child. What will become of you?" So the way the mother said it, he was so touched. So he ran to the chapel where they displayed the image of our Blessed Mary and said, "Oh, Mama, what will really become of me?" And suddenly the Blessed Virgin Mary appeared before him and brought out 2 crowns, one white, one red, and told him to choose. You know how children behave at that age of 9. So he twinkled in his eyes and chose the 2. And he held the crown, and our Blessed Mary vanished. Instantly, that love of our Blessed Mary filled his heart. He became a changed person. He became quiet. And his mother could not understand what happened to him and began to find reasons to think that that child was sick. That white represented chastity and the red martyrdom, and he already chose his life at the age of 9. So he transformed from an unruly child to a very loving child, loving without limit. So now, if we can make a little reflection, begin to wonder who has influenced your life. What really is your relationship between yourself and the Mother of God? How can you deepen that relationship within yourself? What impact did your family make towards your life? As we answer this question and ponder it within our hearts, let us continue with the life of Raymond Kolbe. He entered the seminary school with his brothers, and when he was there, he was eager to learn. He was the most intelligent. Within 3 years, he became a priest. It was there he took up a name, Maximilian. His classmates already knew he was a saint because from childhood he loved limitlessly. So within his heart, he used to draw some things that represented him as a soldier. He used to make some cartoons and figurines of a soldier. So he was a soldier at heart. So when I came across this, I was saying, okay, no wonder they brought this name for knights. So he was a soldier at heart. He wanted to fight for his country. So at the World War I, he saw the way his country was being taken over. Meanwhile, he was from Poland. It was being taken over by war. So he wanted to fight a physical war. So he went to a rector, his rector, And he went there to tell him that he wanted to have abandoned the seminary life so that he will enter back to the battlefield and fight. As he was about to talk, he said to the rector, "I want to reject my habit." Instantly, the bell rang, and the rector did not hear him well. The rector turned and said, "Oh, congratulations." So he gave him his habit and quickly ordained him a priest. The father went and opened the door, and it was his mother at the door, his own mother that came to visit him, Maria. He looked at the mother and said, "Oh, how you actually influenced my life." And for the second time, he was taken away from that physical battles, physical fighting. And he went to the statue of our Blessed Virgin Mary and said, "Mama, you have chosen for me to be here." And he remained in the seminary. So, ponder again in your heart, who influences your life? Check whether the Knight of St. John influences your life. Check whether your brother or your sister sitting right beside you has made any influence in your life. Who is that person that brings the best out of you? What impact has your parents, your brother or your sister made to make you become focused in God's plan for yourself? Do you even know the purpose of your being here in this world? And now that we are aging, can we say that we are actually focused on following that plan that God has left in our lives? So permit me to continue this story. He remained in that place. Being a soldier at heart, he decided that he would fight not physically, but with everything he had. So he didn't fight the war, but he remained there. Meanwhile, at the age of 43, Julius died. He was arrested and killed by the Nazis. So it pained him so much that the father was out there. So he had a heart of a patriot and also a heart of a devoted person. Patriotism he inherited from his father and devotion from his mother. At that time also, the Freemasons came up. You know what the Freemasons and their stories are about, and the Nazis. They took over the Catholic Church. They killed priests, took over Rome and the Vatican, and put the flag of Lucifer all over Vatican. The flag of Lucifer standing triumphantly with a staff and angel Michael at the foot of Lucifer. So he felt he was not going to take it. So he decided that he must do something. So he went again to the Blessed Mother. And after prayer, he opened Knights of Immaculata. It was a journal that he started writing about the Nazis, writing about the Freemasons, because people were following them. They didn't understand what they were doing. So he used the journal for evangelism. He started prayers and made so many miraculous medals. This same, I went online to see whether it was a different miraculous medal. Still the same miraculous medal. After saying the prayer, he will say, "Pray for us who have recourse to thee." You know that prayer, a Blessed Virgin Mary, pray for us who have recourse to thee. And also for the Freemasons, and also for those who do not have recourse to thee, like the Freemasons and their relics. So he was actually praying for them. And he was using the Knights of Immaculata as a means of evangelism for teaching. Before World War II, he already printed 1 million copies for evangelism monthly and wanted to win souls back to Jesus. So as knights and ladies of the Knights of St. John, who do you fight for? What do you really fight for? As we ponder this in our hearts, we also wonder if we really fight as knights, as soldiers, for Christ and for the right thing. Apart from printing, he decided that printing alone will not get him to where he wanted to do. He opened a radio station and went to Japan, even when he didn't know how to speak Japanese language. And when there, he continued the printing of the journal for evangelism and also opened radio stations. Remember the Nagasaki war, when they put the atomic bomb. People were wondering whether he was mad. He went to a side of the mountain to live. It was filled with mosquitoes, and the mosquitoes beat him and his brothers mercilessly. They had abscesses. In fact, some of his brothers will hold him. He lost the function of one leg. They will hold him up for him to celebrate Mass, but he still continued relentlessly. Now, during the time of atomic bomb, many people died. But the effect and the waves of the nuclear weapon died at the door of the monastery. That was also another miracle. So now let me just fast forward to what became of him. Maxilian Kolbe once said, "Hatred is not a creative force. Love alone creates." He was arrested during the World War II. Even in his camp, he was sharing his food, looking for blankets to cover his fellow prisoners. He was about doing good. He was preaching, converting souls to Christ. Even his captives, he converted them to Christ. And if you ask him his profession, he will say, "I am a Catholic priest." He will not say, "I'm a Christian." "I am a Catholic priest." And for him to declare himself a priest made people to hate him the more. And also that he was a Catholic made even the Germans to hate him the more. So when gradually his congregations were being scattered, as the brothers were going far and wide, he told them, "Forget not love." Eventually he was released and recaptured again for the second time. It was at this second captivity that he died. How did he die? They took away his name and gave him number 16670, a prisoner in Auschwitz. By then he was already frail and very sick, and he was trying to still live, but even in that living, he was still the Maxilian Kolbe. So they were calling him Father Kolbe. At night, he would hear confessions. He would preach, he would pray, and would still celebrate Mass, and would still distribute his miraculous medal, which miraculously were not even exhausting, even in prison. So finally, they transferred him to barrack number 14. If they transfer someone to barrack number 14, it meant to die. So one day, one of the prisoners fled, and they called out the 600 prisoners and made them to stand. They told them they were going to stand until they found the prisoner, and they never did. And if you fall, you'll be thrown into a trench for burial. One by one, they were falling, and they kept falling, and they kept dying. They kept burying them. He was given the worst job to bury the dead and to bring out the prisoners that were dead and bury them. Eventually, they selected 10 people to die in place of one prisoner that escaped. And they selected a married man. And the man started whining that he was married, he had a wife, he had children, he wasn't going to die, and all that. So he was afraid. Father Kolbe stepped forward and told them to replace him, to bring out the man and put him instead. They thought he was mad, but they took him away with the other 9, locked them up in a prison where they would die of starvation and dehydration. They stayed there for 14 days. They did not die. They were singing, praising God, and they were living their lives. But every morning, they usually go out to carry a bucket of urine, but they never saw urine to carry. Investigating further, it turned out they were drinking the urine, and they were living on that. They didn't show sign of death at all. Finally, 6 died, remaining Father Kolbe and the 3 others. They were tired of keeping watch, so they brought him out, gave him a little injection, and he died. That was the story of a courageous man, a truthful man that stood by his faith from the beginning to the end. For every chapter of his life, I see the knight and what we represent: courage, truthfulness, fighting, soldier, and all that, remaining true. Now, during the homily, Father was asking us the impact we make on our children. And we also need to reflect the impact our parents made in our formation, and also the impact we should make on our own children, and how we should try to raise them up to remain cadets and juniors of ladies and Knights of St. John. Please, if you don't mind, let us say the prayer as a means of conclusion of Maxilian Kolbe. If you like, you can repeat after me. Immaculate Conception, Mary, my mother, live in me, act in me, speak in and through me, think your thoughts in my mind, love through my heart, give me your dispositions and feelings, teach, lead, and guide me to Jesus. Saint Maxilian Kolbe, pray for us. Thank you.